A 54-year-old tech CEO enters Judge Caprio's courtroom, 40 minutes late. He's wearing a designer suit, a visible Rolex, and is still talking on his phone as if the setting doesn't apply to him. Judge Caprio asks him to silence the phone and explain his contempt charge for previously missing a hearing. The CEO actually laughs. Then he says 5 words that surprise everyone in the room. "You cannot judge me." Judge Caprio pauses mid-note, refuses to hang up the call. "Excuse me?" Judge Caprio asks. The CEO leans forward, confident and dismissive. "Do you know who I am? I am the top of my industry." What Judge Caprio does next becomes one of the firmest responses in his courtroom. Because telling a judge that they have no authority is one of the quickest ways to be reminded of it. Subscribe and share your city. What happens next is significant. Thursday morning, 10 a.m., the hearing was scheduled. The bailiff called the case exactly at 10 case 2847. Theodore Langston. Failure to appear. Contempt of court, no response. The podium remained empty. 15. Traffic. You know how it is, still no sign of him. 10:30. Judge Caprio is clearly growing impatient. Bailiff, has Mr. Langston contacted the court? No, Your Honor. 10:40. At last, the courtroom doors open. A man in his mid-50s enters. Not casually, he strides in with confidence. He's wearing a charcoal Tom Ford suit that likely costs more than most people's rent. A Rolex Daytona catches the courtroom lights. AirPods Max rest around his neck. He's on his phone, speaking loudly. "I don't care what the board says. Make it happen. That's why I pay you." He glances toward the bench and raises one finger toward Judge Caprio, as if signaling wait. He continues, "Tell Singapore we're withdrawing if they don't agree by Friday." Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change. Sir. End the call now." Theodore looks up, irritated at being interrupted. He doesn't stop the call immediately. "Yeah, I have to go. Some court matter." "Handle it." He finally ends the call. No apology. Judge Caprio's tone is calm but firm. "Your name?" "Theodore Langston." He says it as though the judge should already know who he is. "Mr. Langston, you were ordered to appear at 10 a.m. It is now 10:42. Can you explain why you are 42 minutes late to a contempt hearing?" Theodore gives a small shrug as if the question holds no weight. "Traffic. You know how it is. Traffic. And you did not think to call the court? I'm here now, aren't I? You can't judge me like ordinary people. Let's just finish this. I have a meeting at 11:30. The courtroom remains quiet. Everyone watches, surprised. This is not how people usually speak to Judge Caprio. Judge Caprio looks at the file. "Judge Caprio, Mr. Langston, you are the CEO of Langston Technologies, correct?" Langston. "That's correct." He says it confidently, almost as if the title protects him. Judge Caprio. "And you failed to appear for a traffic citation hearing 3 weeks ago. No call, no explanation. You simply did not show up. That failure led to this contempt charge. Do you understand why this is an issue?" Langston. "Look, Your Honor." He says Your Honor the way someone uses a word they are required to say. Langston. "I run a company valued at $400 million. I employ 700 people. I have responsibilities that are significantly more important than a parking ticket." Judge Caprio slowly raises his eyebrows. Judge Caprio. "More important than a court order?" Langston. "I didn't mean it like that." Judge Caprio. "Then how did you mean it, Mr. Langston?" Theodore's patience, already thin, disappears. Langston. "What I mean is, I'm a busy man. I forgot, it happens. Can we just settle the fine and move on? I'll write a check right now." He actually takes out a checkbook as if this is a routine transaction. Judge Caprio's tone becomes firm. Judge Caprio. "Mr. Langston, put the checkbook away. This is not about the amount of money. This is about respecting the legal process." Langston, voice rising. "Respect? I built my company from the ground up. I created jobs. I pay more in taxes in a single year than most people earn in 10. I believe I have earned respect." Judge Caprio. "You have earned financial success. That does not give you permission to disregard court orders." Theodore lets out a short laugh. The judge's firm response. The defendant lets out a short, dismissive laugh. "Your Honor, with all due respect, you don't understand the environment I work in. I make split-second decisions. I manage millions of dollars. I don't have time to concern myself with parking tickets. Judge Caprio responds calmly. This is no longer about a parking ticket. It's about your disregard for a court order. That is a legal violation. A violation? Theodore's expression tightens. That's absurd. I'm not a criminal. I'm a businessman. A successful one. Judge Caprio leans forward slightly. Mr. Langston, success does not place you above the law, regardless of how much money you earn. And this is where Theodore makes his critical mistake. He leans toward the bench, looks Judge Caprio directly in the eye, and says with complete certainty, Your Honor, you cannot judge me the same way you judge regular people. The room falls silent. Judge Caprio's voice lowers to a controlled tone. Excuse me, I said. You can't judge me like everyone else. I am not like everyone else. Then who are you, Mr. Langston? Theodore lifts his head, standing straighter, confidence radiating from his posture. Do you know who I am? In my field, in my organization, among my colleagues, I am the one who makes things happen. My decisions affect 700 employees. I determine outcomes. I shape direction. He pauses as if emphasizing a key point in a business presentation. So when I tell you that missing a court date is not significant, when I tell you there were more critical matters requiring my attention, you need to understand that I function at a different level than the average person who appears here. The courtroom remains still. A few people glance at one another. This man has effectively compared his status to divinity while speaking to a judge. Judge Caprio remains motionless for several seconds before responding. Mr. Langston, did you just refer to yourself as God? It was a metaphor, Your Honor, meant to describe the scope of responsibility I carry. I see. 250 total revealed. This claim of God status, does it place you above Rhode Island law? Theodore realizes too late that his words have crossed a boundary, but his pride keeps him from stepping back. What I'm saying is that my time is more valuable than— Stop. Judge Caprio's tone cuts sharply. Your time is more valuable than what? More valuable than the court? More valuable than the legal system? More valuable than the rule of law that applies equally to everyone? I didn't mean— You said you are God in your industry. Let me tell you who you are in my courtroom, Mr. Langston. You are a man who violated the law. A man who ignored a court order. A man who arrived 42 minutes late without acknowledgement. A man who believes wealth grants him advantage. Subscribe to Judge Stories if you believe respect cannot be purchased. Judge Caprio opens the statute book with calm precision. Theodore watches, his confidence beginning to fade. Mr. Langston, contempt of court in Rhode Island carries a maximum penalty of 6 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. Do you understand that? Theodore's expression changes instantly. 6 months? That's extreme for missing a court date, is it? Because from my view, you didn't simply miss it, you disregarded it. Then you arrived late to your contempt hearing. Then you repeatedly disrespected this court. And finally, Judge Caprio's voice rises slightly. You told me you're God. It was a metaphor. It was arrogance. Clear and direct arrogance. And today I intend to teach you something your wealth has not. Humility. He writes into the case file. First, the original parking citation. It was a $75 fine. Due to your failure to appear, it is now $250. Theodore reacts but stays silent. Second, contempt of court for failure to appear. $1,000. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Third, this video spread quickly across the tech community. Theodore arrived 42 minutes late with no legitimate explanation. Judge Caprio addresses him firmly. That's another count of contempt. An additional $1,000. Fine. Theodore looks stunned. $2,000 for being late? No. Judge Caprio replies evenly. $2,000 for showing contempt toward this court. Twice. The courtroom is silent, but Judge Caprio continues. And we are not finished. Your conduct in this courtroom today, the phone call you refused to end, your dismissive tone, the gesture with your checkbook, and your comparison of yourself to God, all display deliberate disrespect for the judicial process. He speaks slowly and with clarity. These are aggravating factors. I'm adding another $2,000 for obstruction and misconduct. Theodore's face reddens. So it's $4,000 total? This is unreasonable, is it? Judge Caprio responds. You stated that you pay more in taxes in a year than most earn in 10. You said your time matters more. You compared yourself to a deity. So, By your own logic, $4,000 should mean very little. A few people in the room applaud. Someone quietly says, "Yes." Theodore tries again. "Your Honor, I'll appeal." Your legal team, Judge Caprio interrupts, will have access to the courtroom recording where you referred to yourself as God and dismiss this court's authority. The statement lands quietly but definitively. CEO's transformation. After 6 months, me? I can't judge you. I'm sure that will work out well. Please appeal. I would truly like to see how an appellate court responds to your statements. Judge Caprio continues. Mr. Langston, you said you employ 700 people. Those individuals rely on you for their income. Have you thought about what type of leader you are when you behave as though the law does not apply to you? I never said that, Theodore responds. You communicated it through your actions today, Caprio replies. Arriving late, refusing to end your phone call, taking out your checkbook as if money excuses behavior, referring to yourself as God. What lesson does that give your employees? That success places you beyond accountability? Theodore remains silent. Let me tell you what I observe, Judge Caprio continues. I see someone who has achieved financial success and mistaken it for moral authority. I see a person who believes wealth automatically equals wisdom. I see a CEO who has rarely been told no and does not know how to respond when it happens. Judge Caprio's tone softens, though his message remains firm. Mr. Langston, you are 54 years old. You have built a successful organization. That is commendable, but success without humility becomes arrogance. Money without respect is simply currency. Power without accountability becomes misuse. Theodore attempts sarcasm. Are you teaching a philosophy class? The reply is immediate and sharp. No, I am providing a clear reality check. You owe $4,250 in fines due within 30 days. If you do not pay, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And Mr. Langston, when law enforcement arrives at your $400 million company to detain its CEO, feel free to repeat that you are God. See if it makes any difference. Theodore leaves the courtroom, visibly shaken. As he steps out, an older businessman stops him. Mr. Langston, I'm Victor Chen. I serve on the board of directors at Langston Technologies. Theodore stiffens. A board member saw everything. Victor, I can explain. No need, Victor interrupts. I watched you disrespect a judge, show up late without acknowledgement, and refer to yourself as God. The board will be addressing this. Theodore struggles to respond. I didn't mean you meant what you demonstrated, and it confirms concerns we already had, Victor says. Your leadership approach, your dismissal of accountability, your treatment of anyone you consider beneath you. Victor walks away, leaving Theodore standing alone, finally confronted by the consequences. Back in the courtroom, Judge Caprio speaks to the remaining audience. Ladies and gentlemen, what you observed today is the result of confusing financial achievement with personal superiority. A young woman raises her hand. Your Honor, I work in the tech industry. I'm familiar with Langston Technologies. They have a reputation for a difficult work environment and a culture centered around the CEO. People there call him the Oracle. A man in his 60s rises next. Your Honor, I'm a retired judge from Massachusetts. I drove here after watching your courtroom sessions online. What you demonstrated today was a clear example of proper judicial authority. That individual needed to understand that success does not place him above the law. Judge Caprio nods. Success is a positive thing. Building a company, providing employment, and achieving financial stability are accomplishments to be respected. But none of those achievements excuse anyone from treating others with courtesy or following the law. 3 days later, Theodore's behavior becomes news in the tech community. The video circulates widely. Social media fills with comments. CEO calls himself God in court and gets humbled by judge. This is what happens when no one challenges you for decades. Judge Caprio demonstrates real accountability. A week later, the board of Langston Technologies holds an emergency meeting. Victor Chen recommends required leadership training for all executives, beginning with the CEO. The board agrees unanimously. Theodore releases a public statement. I apologize for my behavior in court. I allowed pride to influence my actions. I will work to be a more responsible leader and a better person. He pays the $4,250 fine promptly. 6 months pass. Employees begin to notice meaningful shifts. The CEO remains ambitious and focused, but now he listens more, acknowledges contributions, arrives on schedule, and treats colleagues with respect. Someone eventually asks him what caused the change. I met a judge who reminded me that I am not above others. It was the most valuable lesson I've learned. Subscribe to Judge Stories for more moments where confidence meets accountability, and where a single word, God, becomes a $4,250 reminder. Theodore Langston entered the courtroom believing his wealth protected him. He left financially lighter but significantly wiser. Judge Caprio demonstrated once again that the courtroom is a place of equality. Whether someone holds $400 million or $40, law applies to everyone. Respect in the courtroom is not optional. Calling yourself a god simply shows how much humility you lack. This is what occurs when a successful executive forgets he is still just a person. When wealth becomes a barrier instead of a responsibility, and when a judge calmly reminds someone that there is only one authority in a courtroom, and it isn't the defendant, Theodore received one of the most valuable lessons of his life that day. You can be a powerhouse in your field, but in a court of law, you are simply another individual required to follow the rules. Share your thoughts below. Was the $4,250 fine appropriate? Or should Judge Caprio have issued a stronger penalty? Let's talk about it.